Hey guys, how's it going? So, a couple of months ago, some friends and I decided to give Fallout 76 a try, and we immediately fell in love with it. But after about 200 hours of gameplay, that's me personally playing every day for about a month straight, I grew a bit bored with it and moved on to other games. I've since come back now because I was itching for a boss fight again, and after getting one, I even attempted it solo, hence the last video you guys saw. But that, however, was on a character that I had a lot of help putting the time and effort into it that I did. So I've come back to ask myself this question: can you play Fallout 76 as a solo player? Now, this may come as a shock to you, to those of you that know me at least, but most of the time I prefer to play alone. It wasn't until recently that I've started playing with my group of friends that I regularly play with since the past year or so, and for much of my life I was a solo player in most any other game I'd played. So as a solo player, it feels nice to be rediscovering my old roots again. But there is a twist to this challenge I've set forth. When I say as a solo player, I mean that I'm going to be by myself all the time, with no outside help from other players. Those of you that have played Fallout 76 before know why this may be a stupid challenge now, because the entirety of the game is based around a multiplayer style content. What with all the manner of creatures and enemies getting different buffs and damage boosts depending on the event, an event that's meant to be played by multiple people, mind you. But enough yapping, and let's get to the gameplay. Starting off, as we leave the vault, you're going to be taking a level 1 character instead of the optional level 20 character, just as a personal preference. Welcome, everyone, to West Virginia. As we leave the vault wide-eyed and full of wonder, I immediately jump at the opportunity to make this lovely lesbian couple disappointed in the world. After they pointed me in the direction of the Wayward, I started making my way down the hill, picking off any ghouls in my way, and picking up any and all junk I could get my hands on. It wasn't long after that I ended up making my way into this responder camp and started looting everything that wasn't nailed down. After I was done looting the place, I decided to scrap all the junk I'd found and any extra guns or armor I didn't think would be useful. While I was doing this though, I was told I should talk to Lane for work, so that's exactly what I did. Lane ended up giving me a job to go and check on some meat traps they'd set up in the forest, but after talking to him I looked at June's inventory to see what she was selling and ended up finding this automatic combat rifle, which would be huge for the early game, since that's the kind of perks and guns we were going to be using. After leaving June, I made my way to a farm that was close by and started picking off some Scorched that were inhabiting the place. The extra experience was nice and the loot was an added bonus. After taking out the Scorched, I ended up finding a weapons workbench and started scrapping down the junk and weapons I'd gathered. If you look in the top left corner of the screen, you'll see that whenever I scrap weapons and armor down, I have a chance to learn a new mod I can place on these weapons and armor. Since I plan to run commando for the time being, I need to find as many semi-automatic pipe weapons that I can so that I can break them down. I know pipe weapons suck, but they'll be the earliest full auto weapon I can craft or get my hands on. Once I'd finished at the farm, I started making my way toward the Wayward, but stopped to set down my camp next to a cozy little river. I promise this isn't going to be how it is forever, but I want to get a basic setup for my base of operations so that I have somewhere to call home and do my crafting. That being said, you'll notice that I have a lot of stuff that I can build right now. This is because I bought some stuff from the Atomic Shop and other stuff I learned from the scorecard a couple seasons ago. After setting up camp, I made my way into the Wayward and had some help killing a thug that was holding everyone up. After dealing with him, I spoke to Duchess and found out that there's been a lot more guys like that in here before, so I offered to help her out.
Duchess. There's something I could do for you. Now that you mention it. See? But I want him to be. Normally, but I'm willing to.
Soon after talking to her, I made my way back to camp and placed down a weapons workbench finally, some carrots and corn, and a big crane sign that Duchess designed for me to attract more of those thugs. Once that was crafted, I had to make my way up the hill I set my camp next to so I could drop a holotape into a radio tower. On the way, though, I found a group of cultists and thought I'd give them a little present. Yeah, they gave me a run for my money there, but it worked out in the end. I finally made my way to the radio tower, and it was occupied by some Scorched, so I had to clear them out, and once I did, I loaded the holotape into the tower's terminal and began to make my way home.
Message uploaded. Initiating broadcast pulse.
On the way back home, I came across a familiar face. This guy is known as the Raider Punk. He's a companion you can add to your camp, and he'll send you on missions to track down cryptids every now and again. As nice as it would have been to add him to my camp this early on, I didn't have high enough skills to pass the speak check to recruit him. Hopefully we come across him again. Since I couldn't convince the punk to come back to camp with me, I just made my way home alone and dropped off my loot before talking to this treasure hunter that came around looking for a guy named Crane.
Whoa, you're not Crane. Crane found
After I was done speaking to the guy, I did a little more work around the camp until I heard someone yelling. Him and his friend were dealt with. Justly. After dealing with those two goons, I went back to Duchess and filled her in on what happened. Turns out they're from a gang that's been occupying the lumber mill up north. That's going to be our next stop in the storyline, but for now, I don't want to go there just yet. I want to level myself a bit more before I make my way too far out of this area. That being said, I started working on the quest I'd picked up earlier from Lane. We just needed to collect some meat from some traps they'd set up.
You're back. If Patties won't stand a chance. You've recovered the meat from our traps. Just what I wanted to hear. On behalf of the responders, I can't thank you enough. You helped us make...
After turning in the quest, I walked over to their power armor station and found they had a nearly complete suit of T-45 armor just ripe for the picking. I can't use it now because it's level 10 and I'm only 5, but you know, it's still a suit of power armor. I finally made my way back home, dropping off the armor I just picked up and grabbing some stuff from the passive collectors in my base. That being said, I'm going to leave the video off here. I think I made a good bit of progress in this first couple hours you've seen here, and I'm excited to keep the ball rolling. I know this is quite a short video compared to the others that I've made before this, but there wasn't a lot of extra content to get out of this. I won't go into details, but if you've ever played a Bethesda game before, you know what I'm talking about. But with that said, I'm going to leave it here, guys. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.